Oh, yeah, and
doing the spirit thing over there.
You heard the one big one. There was a one big one in there, we heard.
Indeed.
Oh, right. Son of a bitch.
Of course, they dropped the indeed.
They do.
You know, I hate her, but I miss Ramtha.
Oh,
well,
you're the only
congratulations, she's back. And, so Chandler's, this wasn't something that Randi, Amazing Randi, was actively going after. He was actually recruited to debunk them by another nation. Let's hear.
The Carlos hoax started when 60 Minutes Australia called Randi because they wanted to prove that channelers were a hoax. On that phone call, Randi told them that you couldn't prove that someone who said that they are inhabited by a spirit 40,000 years old is a false claim. What he said to them was, what we need to do is to create one.
Okay, so his idea, 60 Minutes Australia, he tells them you can't prove that channelers are fake. The only thing you can do is make a fake channeler to prove how easy it is to be done.
Oh, okay. I see what he's saying. I was a little confused there.
Yeah, this part of the story is fascinating. I love the fact that they really pulled this off. They did this.
Amazing Randi is about to make Australians look really stupid. Amazing Randi, he creates this fake channeler named Carlos, a 2,000-year-old spirit who is played by just one of his young associates, a guy named Jose Alvarez. And apparently Australia was obsessed with channelers during this time. It's so obsessed that they have to reach out to our country, to our famed debunker, and be like, you got to stop this. These guys are everywhere. And they say that the purpose of making Carlos, this was not to humiliate these channeler followers, but to liberate them from what they believe was a false belief. So let's hear now some gullible Australian newsmen.
His name is Carlos, and you've probably seen him on television or mentioned in the press. Carlos is involved in the mystical field of channeling. Carlos, if you believe him, is a spiritual messenger who occupies the body of this 19-year-old Puerto Rican artist, Jose Alvarez.
The Carlos hoax was to show that the media would fall for most of these stunts if they sounded attractive enough, and they wouldn't really investigate too carefully.
Yeah, so it's kind of worked, as you can see, that Australia is so open to their channelers. Man, tricking an entire country and continent. It's actually easier than you might think, according to Randi.
So, one of the very first things we did to introduce Carlos to the public, we made up the press package that we presented to the Australian press. We even invented newspapers and magazines that never existed, theatrical magazines particularly, announcing the appearance of the great Carlos at such and such a theater that didn't exist. But no one in the media bothered to check up on one of these details. They could have picked up the phone and just checked, and they would have found out that they were being deceived.
So, Dre, do you think Australia could fall for this again?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll make up some. We already got a podcast we could reference. We could do a fake interview with a channeler. I think we'll go over there and
we should
take it over.
Maybe it's our duty now to show people how easy it is to make a fake podcast. Just making a bunch of fake podcasts.
I think a big part of this was that he had the best coach in the world for this.
Yeah,
Randi designed this character. He designed the bit. He designed every single one of the illusions. And I'm pretty sure you're going to get into it now, but he even took some things that he learned, tricks that he learned that some of these imposters were using, and he used it for his own.
Which, I mean, it is pretty brilliant.
Channelers, think about how easy it would be. I mean, just thinking about it, to be like, yeah, I mean, we all have a thing called dignity. We don't want to actually do something like that and go through it. But he had a person that was willing to help him and do this and put on this whole show.
Oh, I would
continent.
Volunteer for that in a heartbeat, because I'm sure he's being compensated, or at least getting free hotel rooms or whatever.
They're best friends. It's fine. That's his partner.
Well, they're a little more than best friends, but yeah.
I bet. I believe
that's fine. We're worried about this right now. But to really show the scope of this deception, here is the story covered on Hard Copy.
The well-orchestrated media campaign began as soon as his plane landed with a full-scale press conference.
Can you give us any idea of what this event might be?
It will be astronomical in nature.
In no time, Carlos and his manager found themselves an overnight success. When the Aussie press tried to debunk Carlos, as they did here on a national talk show, Carlos and company abruptly ended the interview, threw a glass of water at the host, and stormed off the set. That stunt had all of Sydney talking, and within 60 hours after stepping off the plane, Jose Alvarez had made 8 television and numerous radio appearances and had become headline news.
Carlos rules. He's throwing drinks on Australians. He's going on every show. Every show will have him. Every camera is in front of him. It's insane. And there's not a lot of actual footage, which it's so frustrating. I want to see more of Carlos. I couldn't find much, but play soundboard 4 because what's going to happen, Carlos? Is it going to be?
It will be astronomical in nature.
Yes, in nature.
I love this guy. Carlos. And just the fact that he named it Carlos is for some reason 2,000 years old.
Yeah, they definitely
Carlos.
just put some names into one of Randy's hats and they just pulled it out. They're like, let's go with Carlos. Oh, that works.
Why not?
There's nothing special about it.
350,000 years old and his name is Joe.
Yeah.
I love it.
And Carlos even performed at that famous Sydney Opera House where a young unbeliever Raymond and his wife got to see him. It's incredible.
What? No fucking way. Come on.
So not only did they see him, they got interviewed on the news.
What?
I know he's definitely psychic. There's something that I can feel coming from him.
I thought it was great. Very sincere, I thought.
Do you believe him?
Yeah, I do.
Oh. Wow.
Wow, Russ, I can't believe you got that interview. That's super
That was crazy. You look great when he was younger. Yeah, as a younger Raymond and his wife. Yeah, they were all in. They were all in. So that was after his famous Sydney Opera House performance. But a week after that performance, the whole stunt was revealed on 60 Minutes Australia. And following that, all channelers were banned to the wasteland, Mad Max style. They busted the deal.
The way that they edited in the documentary, too, they show all the people so excited, and they're like, oh, he's for real. There's something about, I don't know if he's a psychic, but there's definitely a power that he emits. I can't explain it, but you can tell it's real.
I think
and then
he's
immediately
cute.
afterwards is them being like, yeah, this is bullshit. Sorry, guys.
Oh.
And like just squashes all of that.
Oh, man, that was good shit, though.
That was the whole point. He wanted to just kind of shatter that entire image that the world of channeling had by showing how easy it is to dupe him. He would do things like he would just hold a giant crystal and just like move it around, and he dressed very quote unquote spiritual looking in like silk pajamas. He looked the part. He definitely looked the part.
Oh man, if that's all it takes, really, is the silk pajamas. Like, I could do it. I would volunteer to do it.
Yeah, coming to the Unbelievers podcast store, silk pajamas pretty soon.
There you
I
go.
think it's the right fabric. It's just very
man.
conducive to your psychic abilities. It helps.
We got Gary.
There's something about
we'll
the
have
silk.
the Gary
There's just something
Spivey
about
wigs, and we'll have those silk pajamas, and we will be so quarantined,
So
relaxed,
comfortable.
so chill. It's gonna be great.
Sleep so good.
And that's my favorite thing about Amazing Randi is he goes all over the paranormal, unbelievable map. And one of my favorite famous debunkings of his was when he decided to go after faith healers, who, a lot like channelers in Australia, were everywhere in the 80s. And one faith healer in particular, a man named Peter Popoff.
You've got cancer of the stomach? Are you ready for God to burn that cancer out?
A man like Reverend Peter Popoff was a very dangerous man. In my estimation, he was a real scoundrel because he was taking people's faith in their religion. He was taking away their security. In many cases, he was harming them physically because he was convincing them that they didn't have to go to doctors anymore, that Jesus had healed them.
If you've got pills as an act of faith, I want you just to throw them out the aisles. Those of you up in the balcony, just throw them over the side. Amen. Throw them over the side. Throw them over the side.
I hate these guys. I'd watch 1,000 Hell's Bells before having to endure one of these. It's terrible.
Yes. These are the true sacks of shit. The people who, not just take people's money and get rich off of them. It's one thing to get money from people who are like voluntarily seeking you as entertainment, but when you're endangering people's lives and you're giving them false hope, Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't think
territory.
anybody's been more deserving to just immediately be entered into the fucking sack of shit Hall of Fame as
Boom,
much as
he's in.
Right.
Petey Popoff or whatever the hell that guy's name is.
Yeah, Peter Popoff. This guy, the Amazing Randi, he just becomes obsessed with this guy, this Peter Popoff. So here is more.
So you have Popoff, who's going around a congregation and just seemed to be able to hear the voice of God and know all about people, even their addresses. He would call it out. Everyone's impressed.
Is that John 3784 Archwood Road? God is burning those blood clots out of his veins, out of his arteries. There it is.
So he was doing a mentalism act, it appeared, and we wondered how he got the information.
Yeah, and that's called doxing now also. I don't think that's cool, the way he's like, yeah, you, 329 Mayberry Road, you come here. You could not do that now. People would be so upset.
Oh, yeah. I mean, one, it's a lot easier to do it now, but it's also just as easy to have plants in the audience where they've volunteered that information ahead of time and then acted real surprised when they found out, like, oh my God, how did he know that about me?
Yeah. And watching some of the videos of these guys, Peter Popoff, man, there's one dude in particular. It's very dramatic. It's really kind of like tubby, nerdy looking dude, and like he heals him, and he throws his cane away, and he does like the stupidest dance. It's so like, dude, you're like, this guy, this is the fakest thing.
The clip with the little boy and the mother pissed me off so much. Where the mother's like,
I think we're gonna get to that.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. So he's. Amazing Randi has his eye set on this Peter Popoff guy. So now Randi and a man who now goes by the name Banachek, he is a mentalist, but he was a young dude around this time. They go and check out one of these Peter Popoff live, it's so weird to say that name, Peter Popoff live faith healing / doxing sessions, and then this happens.
After a while, I'm sitting there, and after some of the emotion had died down in me, Popoff said, I need people to come down to collect money for him. And basically he had 15 buckets, and I'm supposed to go around the auditorium and collect cash.
God is touching that thyroid condition right now.
And these people were throwing like 5, 10s, 20s, because one of the things Popoff always tells them, whatever you give, you will get back tenfold. So if you put $1 in, hey, you're going to get $10. You put $100 in, you're going to get a lot more money back. And these people truly believe this.
Here it comes, complete healing in Jesus. You foul spirit of deafness, take your hands off this woman in Jesus' name.
Yeah, these guys are raking it in. And he just healed a woman's hearing. She was deaf, and he just healed her.
So now she can hear how much he sounds like a liar?
She can hear the bullshit loud and clear.
And she's
it's at the point where you're like, are these people dumb, or is this just so insidious that anyone can get roped into it? It might be a little bit of both. It's terrible either way, though.
Either way, so you can tell something's fishy. Something smells fishy. Something is not lining up here.
I really think that the people being, quote unquote healed are not, either they want to believe it so badly, or like, a placebo effect, which I'm a little bit torn on the placebo effect, because in my eyes, if they can trick themselves into thinking something that makes them better, then hey, it made them better. That's fine. But when you're doing that whole ploy of like, hey, whatever, any money you give me, you're going to get back tenfold. Oh man, now it's just playing on people's like greed and everything.
And he's one of those guys, man. He winds up, and he's one of those faith healers, of course, that you see that are slapping people in the head, and they're flying back, and people are catching them. I think a lot of that is adrenaline. I think he gets people just so amped up when they get up there, and he finally just pushes them over, like, wow, I don't feel anything. It's like, yeah, you're just pumped full of adrenaline from all this just ramp up that's been going on.
Yeah, it's like he gives them a placebo slap. Kind of like,
yeah, really
smacks them with some placebo, and they're just like, I'm healed. It does work, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, the mind is a very powerful thing, and it's also a very dangerous thing in that respect. You get enough people into your army and everything, and then it's just like people get brainwashed. Like before, when we were talking about with Hell's Bells, like, obviously I'm not against religion as a whole, but what I am against is brainwashing and these faith healers that completely just, they're sacks of shit, and they trick you.
They are. It's a lot of trickery, but it's during this event where Amazing Randi's buddy, that guy Banachek, he starts to get a raging clue that they need to expose this dweeb. Let's hear.
Lord, let these ears be open. There it is.
And as I get up close, I notice in his ear that there's an earpiece. There's no ear hole. It's a little piece of plastic in there, and I come back to Randy. I says, I think I know what's going on.
I said, what's up? He said, he's wearing a hearing aid. in his left ear. Now, a man who heals the deaf, you wouldn't think would be wearing a hearing aid.
Well, how do I sound now? Loud. Loud.
At that point, I realized we needed some technical help, so I enlisted